We are getting ready to do an experiment. We're going to test Piaget's theory on the conservation of liquid. And this is, what's your name?
Derek.
And how old are you, Derek?
5.
He is 5 years and 8 months old. Today is September 13th, 2012. Derek's birthday is on January 4th. So he's 5 years old and 8 months. Okay, Derek, our first question is, do you see these two cups with the water in them?
Yeah.
Do they have the same amount of water in them? Do they have, or does one of them have more or less?
The same amount.
The same amount of water? Okay, now, here's what we're going to do. Okay.
That is a lot.
Now, is that a lot? Okay, now look at those. Now, which one has, okay, do these have the same amount of water in them? Or does one have more or less?
More?
One of them has more? Which one has more? That one? Okay.
Go.
Okay, now we're going to do the conservation of mass. Conservation of mass. Okay, Derek, you see these two balls of red Play-Doh? Okay, do these have the same amount of Play-Doh in them? Or a different amount? Does one have more or less? Or do they have the same amount? The same amount of Play-Doh? Yep, you're right. Okay, leave that one there. And now look what Mom's going to do. Can you guess what I'm doing? Okay, set it up there. Can you guess what I'm doing?
Yes, you made it fail.
Let's see here. What's it going to be?
Beetle.
Do you know what it's kind of looking like? It's kind of looking like a snake. Do you think that looks like a snake?
But you know eyes.
A snake without eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a mouth.
And no mouth. If it was a real snake, it would have to have eyes and a mouth, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that would probably be in their head.
Yeah. Okay, so here's our snake. Now I want you to look at these. So now we have this ball of Play-Doh and this snake. Which one, or do these have the same amount of Play-Doh in them, or does one of them have more?
More. This one.
This one has more? Okay.
What do you want to do now?
I'm asking one more question.
What else? Okay, but I want to do an AOL.
You will. Okay, did you see me put the snake back into this ball?
Yeah.
Is it going? Okay. Now what do you think? Are those the same amount, or does one of them have more or less? What is it? The same?
The same.
The same amount, he said. Okay, you can just keep that going, Dan. And we are going to do the conservation of numbers. Another one of Piaget's theories. Okay, so we're going to look at these. The arrows don't have anything to do with it. These were just the little things I found. Okay, so see there?
Yeah, can I pick something a little?
No, listen.
I know.
You know how to do it? Okay. So now we're looking at these. Let's look at this row and that row.
Okay.
Do these have the same amount of yellow pieces, these two rows, or do they have different amounts? The same amount.
2 but 2, 2 but 2.
Very good. Okay, now I want you don't do anything. Let Mommy do this part. Okay. Now I want you to look at these two rows, and what do you think? Does this row have the same amount as this row, or does one of the rows have more? The same. How do you know that?
I tried to 2 and then 2 and then 1 have 2 and then 2.
Very good. That's very smart. Okay. Our very last experiment is with a bottle here. Okay.
What is painful?
Dan, you might want to zoom in on this when we're done. Okay, now here's a bottle that has some liquid in it. See there? It's sitting on the ground.
Yeah.
You see it? Okay. Now here's a bottle where we took this bottle with the liquid in it and we just tipped it over like this. And then here, look what they did. They laid it on its side. And what we want you to do, what I want you to do, is to draw what the water would look like in this one.
Okay.
Can you draw like a straight line of what the water's gonna look like?
Out.
Oh, yeah. Was it coming out the end?
Done.
Very good. And then can you draw a line on this one where you think what you think the water would look like? However, it would be on this one that's tipped over.
None.
No water in that one? Okay. You want to put your name up there on it?
Oh, sure. Wait, here?
So if we tipped this bottle over like that, there would be no water in it.
Yeah.
Well, that is a good point because all the water might come out, huh?
Yeah.
All right. And that's the end of our full
Mom, wait.
Piagetian experiment.
Before we done, can I do Teddy?
Okay, we are getting ready to do an experiment on Piaget's theories. And this is what's your name?
Denise.
And how old are you, Denise?
10.
She's 10 years and 2 months old. Okay, Denise, let's look at the water in these 2 glasses. Do these have the same amount of water in them, or does one have more or less water than the other one?
Same.
The same amount. Okay, now I'm going to take this water. Okay, now between these 2, do these have the same amount of water in them, or does one have more or less?
Same.
The same. Okay, very good. Okay, now we are going to look at these. This is the conservation of mass experiment. Okay, look at those 2 balls of Play-Doh there. It's kind of wet, isn't it? Do those have the same amount of Play-Doh, or does one have more or less?
Same.
The same. Okay. Now I'm going to take this one. Can you guess what I'm going to do with it? You have any ideas? You might as I go here.
Making a long stick thing.
Yeah, kind of like a snake. Okay, so now that we have this long, thin kind of snake, do these have the same amount of Play-Doh in them, or does one have more or less?
Same.
The same. Okay, now what about this? Are we back to them having the same amount?
Yes.
Just like we started. Okay, very good. Okay, now we're going to do the conservation of number experiment. Okay, does this row have the same amount of these little round yellow things as this row, or does one have more or less?
They both have the same.
They both have the same. What about if we do this? Does this row have the same amount as that row, or does one have more or less?
They have the same.
They have the same. Okay, one last thing for you. This is called a tipping bottle task. Okay, I'm going to try to explain this here. So here's a bottle with some water in it. And see, there's the line where the water is, right there. See, like if you were going to draw this, you'd draw the line right there. There's the ground. Okay, so now this bottle, they took and they tipped it this way, and then they tipped it that way. And there's the floor. Could you draw a line where what it's going to look like, how the water's going to look in these 2 bottles? If they took this and tipped it, or tipped it all to the side. How is the water going to look? Okay, you want to put your name up there? Okay, very good. Thank you, Denise.